What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. How we doing today, Casino? And you're on mute. Great start to the podcast.
Nice. I said, I feel like I got hit by nice. I feel like I got hit by a bus from this last week, and I'm still recovering. Actually, I think I'm recovering from like a week and a half ago, from one of my work nights. But still, pretty good.
Yeah. You went to this was the second time in a row one of us have went to a game. And also, I don't know if you've been watching the MLB playoffs, Casino, but the Phillies have been absolutely killing it against the Diamondbacks. So if you and I wanted to go to a Diamondbacks game and just drive to Arizona, we can get like 5 rows up from the field for literally like $40. Those tickets are dirt cheap right now. I'm literally thinking of doing that on Friday. It's too good of a deal to pass up.
That sounds wonderful. Well, there's no way that's going to happen. I blew my load on honey, I want to get out of here a while ago.
Yeah.
This last weekend was fun though.
How was Raiders Patriots live?
It was just like last year where the Patriots had a chance to go down and either win or die, and take a safety. Just take a safety. I am so over Mac Jones. Give me Malik the Freak. I'm over it. Or at least play him for the rest of the year. Get rid of Mac Jones, and then hopefully get one of the top picks, so you could get one of the two good quarterbacks coming out of college.
You're finally the boat is sailed on Mac Jones.
Yep, I'm done. I'm done with Mac Jones, but it's also done with Mac Jones via done with Belichick.
Okay,
I'm done with Belichick. And now there's a lot of people. I mean, I feel like whatever talent Mac Jones had coming into the league, I mean, he wasn't going to be stellar, but it was so mishandled. He's not going to be shit. So I'm done with him. Get a dual threat quarterback in there. Get Malik the Freak. They signed him, actually. The Patriots signed him. Not only did they pull him up from the put him onto the active roster, but they signed him to a 3-year deal. So I want to see him. I want to see him in there. I'm over Mac. He's awful. Just get rid of the football. Like, that was my biggest pet peeve, and that was my pet peeve. I said all last year as well. He takes way too many sacks.
Yep.
Like, what makes I'm gonna talk Rodgers for a second, and I'm gonna give Rodgers some credit.
Whoa.
Something that somebody like Rodgers has always done is he gets rid of the football and he doesn't take negative yards. Those elite quarterbacks that are like that, like Brady was one of them, Rodgers one of them, Manning, like they don't. The good quarterbacks, especially if you want to be a pocket quarterback and you're not a dual threat and you're not going to run away, you have to be good at getting the ball away and not taking yards for loss. And he's not doing that. He just like, oh, I got pressure, I'm just going to tuck it. He knew if he got a safety there, the game was over. Yes, there still would have been one more down. You could have tried, and maybe get lucky with the bomb, which, by the way, Parker should have had that one. It hit his hands. It would have been within almost 10 yards into field goal, away from field goal range to win the game, and he drops it. Hits his hands and drops it. Ugh. I'm over this team. I'm over this team. I'm done.
Well, that is a perfect segue, Casino, into instead of going game by game, we're going to try a new format. It might stick, it might not. We don't know. This is going to be the test period for it. Each week, I feel like after we watch a week of football, there's top stories that come out of it. The number could be different every week. This week, I thought there were 6 top stories. So let's just dive right into them. We're talking about your team. Now let's talk about my team, because the last 2 undefeated teams this season fell. The 49ers fell to the Browns. The Eagles lost to the Jets. which of those two teams, Casino, the 49ers or the Eagles, are you more concerned for after those losses?
Ooh, well, going into right after the loss, I was going to be more concerned for the Niners because they had injuries. But that has been said that they're not long-term injuries with Debo, with Debo, with McCaffrey, with Trent Brown. So the fact that they're saying that they all might play next week, that they missed out on they lucked out on major injuries, then the Niners are now off the hook. But the Eagles is the worst loss. Jalen Hurts had a rough game, just absolutely rough. I mean, the Jets played well, especially the defense, obviously, but I watched almost all of that game on recap, and Jalen Hurts just looked off.
Yeah. There were so obviously I watched that whole game. I watched both games because that Browns, I was texting you during that Browns 49ers game, just being like, the Browns are fucking really hyped for this game and they're really pumped. And like
Yeah, you were
after
texting
every
me. I
play
wasn't
they
paying
make,
attention.
yeah, that's what happens when I text you. But yeah, they were just so hyped up for that game. Every time they would make a play or whatever, their entire team would just explode. So that one, it just seemed from the get-go like the Browns really wanted it and the 49ers were kind of riding the high of we're the best team in the league, which I also feel like the Eagles were doing because multiple times during that game, I mean, the first half of that game, Jalen Hurts was incredible. He had that play where they tried to sack him and he literally was just holding a guy in place, like looking for somebody to throw the ball to, and the guy's trying to tackle him, and he's literally just stiff arming him and like holding him there until he just passes and completes it. And the first interception, not his fault. He literally hits Goddard in the hands, and Goddard just throws the ball into the guy right next to him and he intercepts it. That was a weird one. The second one, he stood in the pocket for what felt like 10 seconds and he's literally just, the pocket's collapsing. He's literally just standing there. And I was sitting on the couch being like, throw it, like run. I don't know why he stood there for so long. It felt like an eternity. The third one is the pick six, or basically the pick six that ended the game for him, which is one of the worst interceptions you're ever going to see. That was brutal. So the first one, not his fault. The next two, it was like, what are you doing? But then there was also the AJ Brown had a clear touchdown where he burned two guys and then he just decided to stop running and Jalen Hurts threw it. And if he would have kept running, it would have hit him in stride and it would have been a touchdown and it would have been enough to win
Finish
the game.
your routes.
But it was also like the Eagles defense was incredible in this game. Hassan Reddick had like 3 sacks. He was absent the first couple weeks of the season. Now the past like 3-4 games, he's just been on fire. He did this one. Zach Wilson did a rollout. Hassan Reddick didn't hesitate for a second and like sacked him for like a 20-yard loss. It was amazing. But you're up by 2 in the fourth quarter with like 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. You're attempting to convert a fourth down like less than, you're not even at midfield. Why are you not punting the ball, keeping the Jets deep and being like, I think Garrett Wilson got banged up in this game. So then you had Zach Wilson, who would have to go 80 yards without his best wide receiver against a defense that was destroying him all day. I'll take those odds any day of the week. Why are you not playing to win? You're up by 2. Why are you going for it fourth down on like your own 30? That was one of the dumbest things. But I do want to say, I put that game on Jalen Hurts, and then I don't know if you saw the news or not, Casino, but the Eagles have signed Julio Jones,
I did.
That's spicy. It's a little spicy.
That's a spicy take. I like that take. Yes, spicy take, wife. Spicy take.
But also, And I said I would make no excuses for the Eagles, which I will not, because first time the Jets have ever beat them. And I said if Zach Wilson could beat the Eagles, then that's on the Eagles. That was an embarrassing loss. But it's also one of those things where in cornerback and safeties, they literally have like 9 guys injured.
So
And
that's what I
then,
wanted to talk to you about. Like, so, I
yeah,
mean, you say, I mean, we both still have the Eagles as the worst loss between the two for the
yeah,
undefeated teams. Um, but the Eagles defense is just completely just shredded. They're just completely injured. Just it's back to like when you had was it a handful of years ago when the Eagles had no offense and they had guys that were working at coffee shops and they're pulling them and putting them in.
it was literally the year after they won the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like
So, I
they
mean,
just
it's
lost
basically that, but
everybody.
now it's all defense.
Yeah.
Um, but then the Niners, and this is where I also have if they were both teams had injuries, I would still say Philly, but the Niners, their whole thing is now is all the offense. Like I was saying, Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, not Trent. I said Trent Brown earlier. I meant Trent Williams, um, with their offensive tackle. Like those are arguably their best players. I mean, obviously Debo's great, McCaffrey is their best player. Um, but that was a lot. That was a lot to take in. So
Which is also, I mean, what we always talk about when we talk about the 49ers is all their best players are injury prone. So it's just, we know this is going to happen every year. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Debo Samuel, Brock Purdy to a certain extent. I don't think Trent Williams has missed time before this, but I mean, right there, that's what their
so let
5
me
best
yeah.
players.
So I want to ask you this. So you talked about Brock Purdy. I want to touch on him for a second. I love him. I think he's great. I think he's the best quarterback to come since Mahomes, and then before that, Brady. He just looks comfortable when it comes to passing the football, staying in the pocket. He's very cool. I mean, he's right there with me for I like Joe Burrow, where it's just the confidence in the pocket. It's great. Uh, with his loss today, this is obviously his first uh, regular season game where he lost. Do you put this on him? Do you think that this was a bad game by Purdy, or if it was just a really good game by the Browns?
Well, I don't think I have as high. I'm not as high on Purdy as you. I
Yeah, I
like
like him.
him. I would put him in my top probably 10 quarterbacks in the league. I don't think I'd put him higher. I like what I see from him, and I agree with you. I do think that Purdy and Hurts. I mean, you look at both of their records since they've been in the league, and this was the second loss that Jalen Hurts has ever had in the regular season, and the first loss Purdy has ever had in the regular season. And now all of a sudden, like the mainstream sports media are being like, these guys got exposed. We knew they were garbage. We knew they were garbage all along. And it's like this is literally the first and second game they've ever lost. Like, we could cut them some slack. And again, Robert Saleh said it
And they
after
did it
the
with
Eagles.
injuries on their team, you know.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, how many games single-handedly, I can't say this about Purdy himself yet, but Hurts for sure. How many games did Hurts win on his back alone?
Oh yeah. Well,
Like,
and I mean, Purdy, it's when you give him, again, you can say it's Kyle Shanahan, you can do all that and say it's the weapons and all this kind of stuff. When it was what a bunch of other quarterbacks between Jimmy G and Brock Purdy, the 49ers didn't look this good, right? They had all those seasons where it was what wasn't it like Mullins was in there and they
mhm,
won like 4 or 5 games that season with basically the same roster and a better defensive coach who's now the coach of the Texans.
yeah.
So this is just that garbage thing where it's also like, again, when it comes to the Eagles, more so the Eagles than the 49ers, it's like 49ers and Eagles last week were 1-2. Now it's like Chiefs are clearly number 1, 49ers are 2, and I've seen Eagles drop down to as far as like 6 and 7 on the
I you know what?
power rankings.
I want to push back to you. Push back on saying Chiefs are number one. Chiefs are number one because the league are making them number one.
Well,
I still think they're we. You know who I have oddly enough that I mean is right there with the Eagles, with the Niners, with the Chiefs, dude. Detroit.
oh,
Detroit looks amazing.
We're getting to Detroit.
I told
But
you that wasn't a spicy pick at the beginning of the season, man. I really think that they can win the Super Bowl,
yeah.
or at least go, especially
But
with Cincy playing like crap.
to answer your original question, which is the because I think the Eagles and 49ers, I think both of them will be fine. I think
Oh
these
yeah.
were definitely trap games where the Jets, every quarterback they've played, I don't like Robert Saleh. I don't think he's a good head coach, but I do think his comments at the end where people were like giving him shit for it, where he was like, we've embarrassed every quarterback we've played this season. We might not have won, but we've embarrassed them, has kind of been true. Like, I mean, Patrick Mahomes had his worst game, maybe of his career, against this same Jets team like 2-3 weeks ago. Hurts
So
had
we
his
wouldn't.
worst game by
We're
a
not.
mile.
We're not lying when beginning of the season. If they still had Rodgers, this Jets team, man,
Yeah, the
would be.
defense finally looked like they figured it out because we were like, we thought they were going to be top
Yeah.
5, and now they kind of are
See, it's
getting. I
always
mean,
again. We've talked about. It's hard to take the first 2 games into real consideration.
yeah, that front 7 of this Jets team really fucking good. I mean, the Eagles have one of, if not the best O line in the league, and they were just shredding that offensive line the whole game, just getting hits on the quarterback, getting pressures on the quarterback in 2-3 seconds. Like, this Jets team can be really good. And then I'll tell you what, Zach Wilson, he was getting sacked and beat around, but that Jets offense, no turnovers, no interceptions, no fumbles. Like, you can win games in this league if you don't turn the ball over, which the Eagles, again, this is also one of those games where the Eagles turned it over 4 times, the Jets turned it over 0 times, and then the Jets won by 6 points. So it's also like off 4 turnovers, the Jets, I believe, got 3 points. So again,
Mhm.
we're now just being like, up, the Eagles were frauds this whole time. And it's like they're 5-1, and every other game up to this point, they basically dominated. Like, let's slow down a little. And then when it comes to the 49ers, the Browns defense is one of the best defenses statistically through the first 6 weeks in like the last 50 years of the NFL. So it's like, not every week are you going to play a team like the Browns and to a lesser extent like the Jets defense. So let's fucking pump the brakes a little. But Casino, last question on this topic. If both the Jets or the Browns were to get into the playoffs in their current incarnation, because obviously there's rumors that Rodgers could be back by week 12, week 13, in time for the playoffs. Who knows? But just,
That's the dumbest thing.
I know. It's
Even
not
if he's back, they're not going to go back to him. I mean,
no,
they should,
that'd
but
be
they wouldn't.
insane. They'd be insane.
It would, yeah.
But Browns and Jets right now get into the playoffs. Who do you think would be more deadly to play in the playoffs?
Browns all day. That defense is absolute. Like, I mean, yes, Debo got hurt, and yes, McCaffrey got hurt, but that defense holding the Niners to 17 points is absolutely legit. Plus, I really like Jerome Ford. I wanted to pick him up in fantasy as soon as I knew that Chubb got injured. But, I wasn't going to take – I would have taken Ford in the fantasy draft if I didn't already get Chubb because I like him a lot. Didn't have an outstanding day, but, I mean, you're still going against the Niners, so you got to take that into consideration. But I really like this team. Philip Walker coming in, playing for Watson, didn't have the greatest day. You could say that. He had 2 interceptions, only 200 yards with about a 50% completion rate. Not the best, but it got the job done because that run game is so dynamic. They have so many people to hand the ball off to. But that defense was absolutely stellar. So, yeah, no, I would be much more scared of the Browns. I like them. I couldn't even imagine how good they would be with Chubb. I mean, I try to because if I had Chubb on my fantasy team, I'd probably be 6-0. No joke. I would probably be 5-1 because I got 200. I got 200 pointed on 1 week, which you're not going to beat that when you have opposing team have 3 players go over 40 points. You ain't going to win.
Are you currently side swipe into Casino's fantasy corner? Are you number 1 in your fantasy league right now?
No, I'm 4-2. I'm 4-2. I'm in 4th. I'm 4-2. We have 2 people at 5-1, 3 people at 4-2, but I'm sitting 4th technically. But again, that was because all my players got injured. And I was able to the last 2 weeks. I have won. I'm whoopity doo. I don't know where that came from. Whoopity doo. I have won though. Basically, because that one that I got the first loss week 3, I got absolutely won because of the 200 burger. But then the next week I lost because I was still trying to fix and get people off of waiver wire, try to make trades and try to get stuff figured out. So feeling comfortable now. But yeah, I'm currently won my last 2, so I'm sitting at 4-2. For me, that's not good. I was expecting to be. I'm a much better fantasy owner than half the league, and I'm smart. I've just had the shit draw of having injured players, but finally, not just my players are injured anymore. Everybody has injured stars, and now they're starting to look at trying to do trades and whatnot. So,
I mean, I'm in a 12-man league. I was the 12th pick.
I was 12-man league. I was the 11th pick, and I'm.
Well, that must explain why you're 4-2 and I'm 5-1 and number 1 in my entire league, and I just beat the guy that was ahead of me handily. So, I mean, maybe this should be changed. Will's fantasy corner because he's clearly.
How many injuries do you have on your team? How many superstar studs starting position players did you lose?
I have no running backs whatsoever. Literally no running backs whatsoever. Last week my running backs combined got 6 points and I still won. Dude, last week was crazy. I literally won against the guy. I was number 2. He was number 1. I won 129.78 to 128.94. I won by point, literally 1.20 to win last week, and my running backs combined for 7 points. So I have no running game whatsoever. It's all my wide receivers, my tight ends. My kicker gave me 8 points. My
don't talk kicker. No, my kicker got me 19. Tucker all day.
Yeah.
All right, off topic. Now moving back on.
Nobody cares about fantasy football.
I care about that. I mean, come on.
That was our number 1 story. Let's get to our number 2 story, Casino, which this was going to either fluctuate between Chargers or Cowboys based on Monday Night Football. I still feel like we can throw both of them in. So
I saw the lineup here and you didn't say anything about the Cowboys. I was 100% still going to talk about them.
Yeah. So let's go to our topic number 2. What is going on with the Chiefs, the Bills, the Cowboys, and the Chargers? Which of those teams do you feel like has the biggest concern right now?
Let's start off with Monday night's game. Chargers and Cowboys, since they played each other there. Chargers, it's a coaching issue. They left points on they left points up there. It was so easy to get points, and I don't like those calls. Like, why weren't you doing the field goal? You were right there. Why did you try to go for it? This is not Madden where you can just hit the reset button, or put in a cheat code or whatever. You get the points when you can. I mean, that's a very Belichick of me to say, but still.
Also with the I know I saw this thing online because of course you're not allowed to not like Justin Herbert. It's like, remember when Aaron Rodgers had that 10-year window after he won his first Super Bowl where he never got close to another Super Bowl, and it was just like, I mean, everybody loves Tom Brady, but Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback to ever play quarterback because of his touchdown to interception ratio. And that was just the narrative. And you could never say anything against it, right? Because Aaron Rodgers, he's the best quarterback who's ever played, and like all this bullshit, even though winning is apparently not a quarterback stat, except it totally is, because no great quarterbacks has ever had like a losing record. I don't know. That's a topic for another time. But Herbert, like everybody, of course, all the internet like quarterback gurus who just suck off Justin Herbert no matter fucking what, just came out to his defense and were like, since he came into the league, he has the third most fourth quarter comeback wins and all that kind of stuff. Was there any doubt in your mind that the Cowboys were winning that game when the ball got in Justin Herbert's hand and they had like a minute 30 left with no timeouts? There was 0% of me that was like, he's going to go down the field and score the game-winning touchdown. There was no part of me that was like, Herbert's got this.
Not with how he played throughout the night. No.
And
so here's the thing.
Cowboys
I still
defense
like,
wasn't even good.
No,
like they weren't.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't. So I still like Herbert. He's still, in my opinion, a really good, borderline great quarterback. But here's the thing. That's where he's been since he's entered the league. He has not progressed anywhere. He's been that really good quarterback when he's healthy and when the team's healthy, really good quarterback, but great, borderline great quarterback, but he can't progress past that. He's not that I'm going to get in the playoffs, win a couple games, and flirt with the Super Bowl kind of player right now. He won't get there.
So here, I just found it. Here are the top 5 quarterbacks with the most game-winning drives since, I believe this is since 2020. Okay. Number 5, Patrick Mahomes with 11. Right? We think he should be up there, right? Number 4, Tom Brady with 13, right? Again, those two make sense. Here's the top 3. Justin Herbert with 14, Derek Carr with 14, Kirk Cousins with 15. So any of those stats don't matter.
No, but I can see Kirk Cousins with that year that he had last year, winning games barely. But yeah. The one Carr?
Who? Well, also, it's just like
when was he winning games?
Dude, who knows?
But for real, so like every game they won with Carr had to have been a fourth quarter comeback. Like it was.
Now this is also just game-winning drives, so this could just mean going down the field and setting up a field goal and like all that kind of stuff. This is just game-winning drives, but these are why. And I'm a stats guy, but when it gets to certain stats, it's like, do you watch the fucking games? Because no point during that game was I like the Chargers are gonna go down the field and score the game-winning touchdown. And that was even when Micah Parsons was a fucking ghost that game, except when he got a sack on that second to last play of the game. The Cowboys,
what did you say his name was?
Micah Parsons, Micah. I don't care. Micah Parsons, who cares? He was a ghost that game, and we like making fun of him on this podcast as much as the next people, but
yeah, you know what? I still heard his name probably 300 times.
Oh yeah. Well, because most of the time during that broadcast, they were like, where is Parsons? We haven't seen Parsons. He's been absent this entire season, or this entire game.
So, but for going back to like your original question, because we're kind of just breaking down the game, but what's going on with the team? I think the Chargers' issue is their coach. I think the Cowboys' issue is Dak's not the guy.
Well, and Dak had almost a perfect game, and they still only scored 20 points against a Chargers defense that I don't really think is any good.
Right.
But my last question to you, Casino, is: do you think either of these teams are a threat in the playoffs? Either Cowboys in the NFC, Chargers in the AFC.
Cowboys, if they're firing on all cylinders, yes, but that's not going to be the case. The Chargers, they're just the same team year in and year out. They need some personnel change. I think the team itself is fine. I honestly do. I think the players, what they have, in position, are actually really good. But I'm done with the Chargers personnel, like the coaching and the staff. Like they need to get that figured out. And then for Dallas again, you can't be hot or cold. Like, we know what we've talked about Dak, but I mean, look at Tony Pollard. He had 15 attempts, only 30 yards. Like, that's bad. That's bad for
Well,
your number one back.
also this Cowboys team 17th in the league in against the run. So, and we saw that in that Cardinals game where they got ran off the field. We saw
Right.
that
And
in the
you
49ers
go
game.
you go up against Philly, you go up against the Niners, you're going to get absolutely wrecked. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to get absolutely wrecked against teams that run the football.
Well,
We're talking about it, the Browns. Even you go up against any of these teams that run the football, you're going to get absolutely wrecked. I have not liked the Cowboys run defense. I didn't know that's actually better than I thought it was. I thought they were in the 20s. I thought they were further back. Like,
yeah. Well, you even get into the playoffs against like Lions have the ability to run the ball, but you even get a wild card game against the Falcons, right? And they're the number one rush team in the league. Right now, the Falcons shockingly have the I just had it up here. They have the fourth best defense in the league. So we'll
yet they
talk about
lost.
them. Yeah, we'll talk about them in a couple
Ugh.
topics, but as far as the other
By the
teams
way,
we mentioned,
as the audience may have noticed, we did do picks, but we did bad.
so talking about the picks, Casino, you won 8 games this week.
Okay,
I
actually,
only
that's better than
won
I thought.
I only won 5.
Damn,
So
dude. I'm just again. Well, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be the same thing as last year. I'm gonna absolutely destroy you in the regular season, and then you're gonna beat me in the postseason, just like my fantasy football.
yeah. Yeah. Right now you're 8 games ahead of me going into week 7. And week 7, first off, it looks like a good week.
Oh, I
And
want to get 17 games ahead of you, so I can just all of a sudden just be like, I'm gonna take this week off.
I would love that. I think it'd be
I want to
great
get
for the
18
podcast.
games ahead of you, and then just call a week off.
But so we talked about the Chargers and the Cowboys. Let's talk about the Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs, again, like you said, the NFL's golden boys, but they also just had an ugly, ugly game Thursday to
They
start
just
week
don't look
6
right. I mean,
against
just
the Broncos. Well, they
it,
also, I don't know if you saw this, the 2 signings today were Julio Jones for the Eagles, which I think is fantastic because Quez Watkins as the third wide receiver on the Eagles drives me fucking crazy.
you know what?
So,
I'll take Watkins because he'll be a number 1 receiver on the Pats. So
yeah. But please, Julio Jones, take Quez Watkins' spot on the field, please. But
I
the
mean, somebody
other
get him a walker, but still.
I just need him to catch 5 passes a game at crucial downs, and that's fine. That's all I want.
Do you
3
think his walker instead of tennis balls will just be footballs?
As long as he can catch the ball and lean forward for a first down, he will already be leaps and bounds ahead of Quez Watkins. But the other wide receiver signing that relates to the Chiefs is they traded for Mecole Hartman from the Jets about 20 minutes before we started this podcast. So I don't think that's a big splashy signing, but obviously he was with them last year and they won a Super Bowl with him, but he also probably catches as many balls as he doesn't catch, which has already been an issue for the Chiefs this season with drops, and Tooney is basically the same player. So Casino. Oh, and then the Bills. I mean, the Bills barely survive against a backup quarterback in the Giants, and they get bailed out on what was most definitely a pass interference on that last play that they just didn't call.
Dude, is the league?
I don't know what
it's so
are.
hard to watch. I mean, are they just being obvious to be obvious now because they're just leaning into it? They're like, we're not going to try to hide it anymore. We're just going to do what we want.
Well, the Monday night game, it was like the Cowboys had 11 penalties. The Chargers had 10 penalties. Both teams had over 100 yards of penalties. And it's just like, I don't.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the hardest. Like every third play, fourth play, there was a damn penalty. It was so hard to watch.
Yeah. Well, it's also that thing where it's what is a penalty and what isn't, because again, you always hear the booth guys, you hear the officiating when they bring on the guy from New York or whatever the fuck it is, and they're always like, you can call this on every play, and then it's like, okay, but then why sometimes do you call it on every play, and why sometimes you just let them play? What the
because
fuck is a
be,
penalty?
because
Like,
one team are Swifties and one team aren't Swifties and one team is, I don't know, just bullshit.
it just makes no sense to me, especially when why is officiating now so convoluted when we've all of a sudden embraced gambling 150%, right? Like now it's like the league
That's a good
just
take.
the league is literally partners with like all these sports books, and now they're doing lines on every show, and you know the spread, and now it's like, oh, we fuck with the grass in the Super Bowl, and then the spreads are different, and now this team gets penalized a lot in crucial downs, and it's just like, oh, we love Taylor Swift and we're doing that, but we also help the Chiefs win, quote unquote, like help them win 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks. It's also sketchy. Like it just feels weird. But of those two teams, Casino, Chiefs, Bills, both are 5-1 at the moment. The Chiefs losing to the Lions, the Bills losing to the Jets in that weird Monday Night Football game. Of the two teams right now, or no, I'm sorry, the Buffalo Bills are 4-2. Who was the other team they lost to? I don't know. But, and I lost my pen. It's chaos over here. Casino's moving, making me sick with his movement. But at the moment, Casino, in the AFC, who do you trust more, the Chiefs or the Bills? Ugh. Also, I'm sick today, so if my voice sounds, you're muted.
Yep, I'm not anymore. Who do I trust more?
Yes, the Chiefs or the Bills?
Dude, that's a very tough question. Like honestly, that's very tough because the Chiefs have not looked good outside of getting help from the Zebras. They don't look like what they've been in the past few years. So,
And
oh
Mahomes
man,
also looks off.
he looks a little.
Mahomes
He looks
doesn't
a
look good.
no. He looks a little bit off. And Josh Allen and the Bills, they are either blowing teams out or they're struggling by. This AFC, and I don't think it's because the other teams that they're playing are that much better. They just you watch it and the mistakes that are being made. That's the thing that I'm seeing the most between these two teams is mistakes that they normally don't make. They're making, and then they're getting bailed out. Well, the Chiefs are getting bailed out. The Bills, they're just figuring it out barely.
Yeah.
So I would say the Bills just because they don't have the help of the refs.
But also, I think when it comes to the Bills, like the Chiefs have kind of just been a lesser version of themselves that are squeaking out like these close wins. I mean, that Thursday night game against the Broncos was just awful. Like they didn't look good. Not 1 point did you ever think the Broncos were going to
No.
win. And it was kind of just like a mediocre
Talk about
game.
this for a second. Be right back.
As far as the Buffalo Bills go, I mean, you look at their schedule and the other team they lost to was the Jaguars, but then you look at it and it's like they blow out Miami after everybody, including us, was crowning Miami as the best team in the league, which we'll talk about Miami in a moment. But they blow them out by what? 28 points, so by 4 touchdowns a week after the Dolphins lay a 70 burger on the Broncos, right? So then we see the difference in the Chiefs playing the Broncos and then the Dolphins playing the Broncos. But then you see the Jaguars come in the week after they blow up the Dolphins, and then all of a sudden they lose to 5 to a Jaguars team that you can kind of apply the same logic that we're talking about the Chiefs to the Jaguars. But then they start the season with that weird Monday night game losing to the Jets. Then they blow out the Raiders, they blow out the Commanders, they blow out the Dolphins, and it's just like, oh man, Bills, best team in the league. And then lay an egg against the Jaguars, and then they lay. I even think with a win, the Giants game was worse to me than the Jaguars. The Giants game was worse to me than the Jaguars, even though they won even though they won the Giants game, because you put 14 points up against a Giants team that isn't good, that's starting a backup quarterback, and I don't know what to make of the Bills casino, but luckily they get your Patriots next week, so they'll
Yeah, the
probably win
Patriots
by
are about to
30
be
points.
1-7. They're going to be going
Oh,
up against the Bills, and then they go up against, or is it, yeah, Bills and then Dolphins. Dude,
yeah.
Belichick's about to be 1-7. I really hope that they just come the trade deadline, they just sell, 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 get rid of everybody, just tank for the rest of the season. Try to get a good pick and try to get one of the top quarterbacks. If not, and if so, and if not, just and then just go ham on every free agent out there. Just be like, that's good. Just be like, okay, we have the most cap space. I mean, they'll be close to it if they sell. Most
Yeah.
cap space, just give us everybody.
But
You
then
want a job.
on
You want a job. You want a job. You get a job.
But then on the flip side, we're really going to see what the Bills are made of because they go to Patriots, and then the 2 weeks after that, Thursday against the Bucks, which we'll talk about the Bucks in a moment, and then
Oh
the
yeah,
week after
we got an
that,
injury there. We got a big injury
Sunday
there.
Sunday night they play the
Sunday,
Bengals.
Sunday, Sunday.
So it's Bills Bengals Sunday night in 2 weeks, and then they go Broncos, then they go Jets again, and then Eagles. So that's a stretch right there where I think the Broncos and Patriots are gimme games, but then you go a feisty Bucks team, a Bengals team that kind of looks like they're back, a Jets team that already beat them, and then the Eagles, and then the Chiefs, and then the Cowboys. So it's like that is the Eagles and Bills really get fucked over with that November schedule because dear Lord. But Casino, let's move on to the next topic. And that was, you've already alluded to it a little, which is just all the injuries. Like, I mean, this
Oof.
not only this season, but just week 6 specifically. Like, what do you attribute to all the injuries in the NFL that have been happening for 6 weeks up to this point, and more specifically this week, where we saw, I mean, whole teams, like again, Eagles 49ers, just whole sides of the ball were just fucking decimated.
So there's two things that I think. This is a personal thing. I think the turf is a major one. I hate the turf. Everybody needs to be playing on natural grass. They need to get like the rules where they have for overseas soccer, where they are contracted to only play on the pitches, only actual grass. Like anytime that they come and play a game in the States, like an overseas team, come play a game in the States, they change the field to grass because they are contracted to play on grass only. There's not that many injuries in soccer. I like there's really not. And so I think that's one. I hate the turf. Two is I feel like they're I know you're trying to make the game safer by doing XYZ. I'm fine with like the equipment, but when you try to make the game safer by saying don't tackle like this or don't do like this, people are checking up. People are trying to they're thinking too much on not trying to cause injury to other people or themselves, and that hesitation is gonna what's gonna help get you injured.
Yeah.
That's one of my takes on it. I think that there's a lot of people trying to I feel like there's a lot of players trying to be overly safe and they're not doing with playing how they normally play. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, like rugby players. Yes, there's a lot of injuries in rugby because that's still a dangerous sport, but they're hitting just as hard, if not harder, than football players sometimes when they're tackling people, but they're taught how to tackle correctly. They're
Well,
taught
and
how
they're not launching with their head, which is encased in like a hard plastic that basically
right.
makes it
I mean,
so you can be
and
like, oh, I'm going
but
to launch
sometimes when you see
myself.
that happen, sometimes when you do see those like highlights of rugby players getting laid out, when you see the tackle, they're still being tackled correctly to where like they're hurting, but they get up. They might have some bumps and bruises. They might have to go get looked at by medical a little bit, but they're doing that with no pads, and they're
Yeah.
still able to get up. Like again, I
Well,
think I think the trying to make it overly safe is hurting them. Plus, I don't like the turf. as well. That's my take. And also, there's too many games. There's too many
Yeah.
games. There's too much wear and tear on these players. I know that we're not there yet, but I mean, I'm just expecting it to be way more injuries by the end of the season. But no, this was an absolute grueling weekend when it comes to injuries. Absolute like major players in a lot of teams. I could go through it all, but shit, dude, it's a lot. It's a lot to go through.
Let me ask you a question, Casino. For again, because I'm an Eagles fan, so I follow the Eagles more closely than any team in the league. Of every defensive starter on the Eagles, how many defensive starters do you think this season have started every game? So
Two,
again, there is
two,
11.
two.
There has been 3 players that
Ah,
have
same.
not
I
been
was gonna say 2
injured.
or 4. So
No, it's literally Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, and Hassan Reddick are
whew,
the only 3 players who have started every single
sweaty.
game
I'm
this
outside,
season.
as you can tell.
But
I should start doing
when
my
it
shows out here.
it does, I do like the ambiance of it.
Yeah, I can
But
figure it out. I can figure it out. I mean, I might sit at the other table, and I probably should, but you know what? I kind of want to lean back in my patio chair back over here, my
no,
couch.
I love it. It looks very relaxing.
Oh
But
yeah,
when we talk about injuries, I do agree with you with the soccer and rugby thing. Obviously, the difference with soccer being that they're not actively hitting each other every play. But I do think that we've reached the point where it's
it's a bad
like
angle
that
of me.
thing where it's on paper where you're just like, oh, we've made the game so much safer because all the equipment and gear is so much better that the player doesn't feel the impact as much. And then it's like, yeah, but also other player, that means they can be more reckless with their body in terms of being like, I'm going to be safer if I just launch myself like a fucking missile straight at this guy's ribs, right? And then it's just like, I do think we've kind of reached past the point of no return where it's like we made the game so quote unquote safe that it's now more unsafe than if we just didn't fuck with it, because you see the ridiculous always the off-season photos of the guys wearing the giant blue helmets, you know, that look like something out of like a 1950s sci-fi movie, but it's like, oh, that's supposed to help them during practice. And then it's like, okay, if we're the NFL and we care about player safeties, why do we do that kind of shit when it doesn't matter, which is in off-season practices where guys aren't launching themselves at each other? But then we do the turf, which every current and former player is like, I hate playing on AstroTurf because it feels like injuries are on fake artificial turf. So if we care about the players so much, why do we not listen to them when they say most of my injuries occur on this because of this? And then
I can
it's
tell you
like,
right now. You want
oh,
me to tell you? Want me to tell you?
well, it's money,
Show me
obviously.
the money
Yeah, because they
all
don't.
day.
But again, and there was news today that Goodell just got a contract extension as the
Dude,
NFL
27.
commissioner.
Oh,
Yeah, which great because everybody loves Roger Goodell and he only
yeah.
makes the right
And you
choices.
know, the fans aren't doing it just for fun every time, there's a draft and they're like, boo, every time he comes out. That's not just for fun. People are doing it
I
because
mean, it is fun though.
it is fun, but they absolutely hate him. He's the
And he
worst.
doesn't like, I
And
don't get,
players, you know what? And the players hate him. There's so
yeah.
many players that talk bad about him openly. Like,
Ugh.
oh,
Let's move on to the next topic, Casino, which is uh of the 2 teams that won big this past weekend, one in the AFC, one in the NFC, who is the new the week 6 best team in the NFL, either the Dolphins or the Lions?
it's the Dolphins. I love the Lions. I really think they're gonna go well or do well in the playoffs. But it's the Dolphins. That offense is so dynamic and so good. They can win in any which way. I love it. I really do. And being Patriot fan and in that division, I should hate it and I should hate the Dolphins. But I'm actually digging the Dolphins right now, and 95% of it is due to their coach. I think Mike McDaniel is absolutely phenomenal. I'm watching so many highlights of him. It's so after week 5, he had an interview. I don't know if you saw it where they asked him, they're like, you've put up the most points in 5 weeks in NFL history. And, what's your thoughts on that? He goes, that's what we've talked about before like, I'm roughing it. He's like, that's what we talked about before the beginning of the season that was our main goal we really wanted to make sure that we had the most points. And like, he's not trying to be a dick. Like, he's not saying it like super like, like he's answering like if it was a real answer, like a real, like,
Yeah.
it seems like he's actually meaning it. It's fantastic. And he was like,
No,
we've
he's a
reached our
fun
goal.
coach.
He's
Yeah.
reached our goal. And I'm just like, oh, dude, you're great.
So now both teams are 5-1. The Miami Dolphins beat the Carolina Panthers, who are still winless on the season, 42-21.
I need them to win. I need them to win at least 2 games, at least 2, so the Patriots can lose out and we can get that number 1 overall pick.
And then the Detroit Lions won 20-6 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucks sneaky interested at 3-2. The Lions 5-1, and Jared Goff. I'm telling you, for some reason, he is not in MVP consideration for whatever fucking reason. But in this game alone, 30 for 44 attempts, 353 yards,
so
2
many
touchdowns.
attempts.
Dude, they're literally just being like, win us the game, and then he makes no mistakes. He wins the game for him, and then like nobody gives him credit. I don't understand it.
Right. And I mean, and they're going to have to rely on that passing game even more because, as we've alluded to many times so far this podcast about the injuries, David Montgomery got injured, and it did not look good. So he's going to be out. I mean, he didn't have a great game going into his injury. He only had 14 yards on 6 carries, which isn't good. But that's just another running back. That's out of the game. That they're going to have to rely on Jared Goff's arm, but he looks absolutely stellar when it comes to that.
Well, between the two of them, Goff and Tua,
Amon-Ra St. Brown, dude, is on another level this year.
Yeah.
He's crushing it.
Well,
every single game, it seems like he's over 100 yards passing.
Yeah, or you mean receiving?
Oh, that's what I mean. Receiving.
And then I sent you that one picture, which Tyreek Hill is 186 yards shy of 1,000 yards on the season, and we're going into week 7. Like, how that is fucking possible, I do not understand the math on it. That's fucking crazy. He could he's on pace to have like 2,500 receiving yards this season. And again,
that's crazy. That's so insane. And I was saying, St. Brown, like, he's doing well. He is doing well. Listen to this though. So first game, Chiefs, he had 71 yards. Seahawks, he had 102. Falcons, he had 102. Packers, 56. But then Buccaneers, 124. Like,
and what does he have on the season?
The season, so you add that up, he's at 455.
Yeah,
receiving yards.
Tyreek Hill is almost 1,000.
Yeah,
like that's fucking
insane.
Incredible. And then when we talk about the quarterbacks, Tua has 1,900 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Goff has 1,600 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So I mean, both of these.
Yeah, I'm looking up the stat right now.
Lights out.
So he's at 814, right? So his first game, he had 215 yards. Then he had 40 yards against the Patriots. Good job. Then Broncos 157. Then he had 58 against the Bills, and then 181 against the Giants, and then 163 against the Panthers. And you want to know how many receptions he's had? How many receptions do you think he's had?
No, I'm looking at it right now, but
42.
I can see it. Yeah.
40.
That's like a lot, but also he's only gone over double digits 1 week. So it's like, it doesn't like how he's doing this is fucking incredible.
And yeah, well, it's because you look at the average. His average is just shy of 20 yards a carry, 20 yards a catch.
Dear Lord.
I mean, his long is not even as long as you would think. It's just 69, which is great.
Nice.
But I mean, nice. But I mean, dude, he's catching. So I mean, he's consistently catching like 40-yard passes all day.
And again, that is he's put in those positions by Mike McDaniel's play calling, and then Tua is the rate in which Tua releases the ball and how quick and accurate he is. I mean, he looks like Drew Brees, right? Like Drew Brees made a Hall of Fame career out of doing exactly what Tua does, which is just the speed and accuracy of just getting the ball to your playmakers and just being like, all right, Tyreek Hill, take this 5-yard slant for 55 yards, right? And it's again, I think the Dolphins and Miami at this moment are the best teams in the AFC and the NFC, and both of them at this moment have a real shot of being the number 1 seeds in both their conferences, which is fucking crazy. But let's move on, Casino, to our next topic, which is now we talked about the favorites. Let's talk about the dark horse contenders between the Bengals, Ravens, or Jaguars right now. Who would be your pick to make a deep playoff run?
Oh man.
And I say those 3 teams because we saw Baltimore beat Tennessee 24-16. We saw the Bengals beat the Seahawks 17-13. And then we saw the who's my other team? Oh, the Jaguars. The Jaguars beat the Colts 37-20, which also news on the Colts. Anthony Richardson shut down for the season, another injury. So it'll be Gardner Minshew the whole season. And yeah.
Hey, respect the stash, okay? Dude, I honestly don't know. That's a really tough question because obviously the Bengals, I said I wasn't, if they didn't win against the Seahawks, I was over them. They beat the Seahawks, but barely. But that's still a win. It was a great game. It was a phenomenal game. So I don't know where to place that because the Seahawks just played really well too. So that's a tough one. Ravens, they just need to stay healthy, and then they're going to be good. So I mean, we've talked about all these teams actually being good this year. So to call them a dark horse is a little meh. Because, I mean, we expected the Jags to be really good. We thought they might even have the number 1. They would have been the, why am I blanking at it? Number 1 overall seed for the AFC just because they have the weaker
we
division.
both picked Trevor Lawrence to be the MVP this season.
Yep. So, you know what? Let's go Ravens. Because I'm going to say Ravens because I said that the Bengals were going to make the Super Bowl and win. I said that the Jags may have the best record in the AFC with the MVP. And I liked the Ravens, but, I think they had a little bit more they could have, they would have to a little bit more struggle those other 2 teams is what I originally thought. So I'm going to go with the Ravens just based on my preseason picks. They just got to stay a little healthier and then they'd be looking all right. About to have that train to go by. About to hear my choo-choo train because I'm outside. He's been honking his horn.
So I think when it comes to those 3 teams, I think the Jaguars kind of fall into the Chiefs category and the Bills category, which is they're a team playing below what I think they should be playing at, right? They're just inconsistent, and I don't know. Those are 3 teams that I'm scared to bet on each week. The Chiefs because they never cover the spread, and the Bills and Jaguars because I don't know what version of those teams we're going to get every week. The Bengals, I think I still need to see 1 or 2 more games before I'm fully back on that bandwagon. But the Ravens, I mean, we just saw what this same Browns defense did to arguably the best offense in the league, which is shut it down completely. The Ravens lit that fucking Browns defense up. Like, I mean, they destroyed them. And again, by every stat or metric, this Browns defense is one of the most historically great defenses in the last 50 years of the NFL. So you have the Ravens going in there with Lamar Jackson playing almost a perfect game against the top defense, one of the best ever, and making it look easy. So I still think the Ravens are my dark horse to not only get to the playoffs, but potentially get to the Super Bowl in an AFC, which we thought would be a lot better than it's appeared they have been. But Yeah, so I think we're both in agreement of the Ravens, but give me one more week of Bengals Jags and we'll see. Last topic, Casino. Uh and this one is just a thing I've noticed, which is even the bad teams this year are kind of fun to watch. So of the all the other teams we haven't talked about, the fringe teams as I like to call it, which in your opinion is the most fun to watch?
Let's see, fringy teams. I got to go back to what you sent me. There it is. Oh, we don't even have. Oh, the fringe
No.
team. Most fun to watch.
You want me to go
Could.
first?
Yeah, because you said could be literally any team not mentioned above.
Yes. And my team, or the pick I'm going with, is the Texans. I think they're really fun to watch. I really like CJ Stroud. I watched way more of that Texans Saints game than I thought I would. And CJ Stroud, he just looks like he like almost has that like Purdy, Jalen Hurts, like confidence, like nothing phases him. Like he threw his first interception turnover of the season and then just went right down, I think the next drive or two, and just scored a touchdown like it was nothing. And the team really responds to him. And I mean, the Texans at this moment are 3-3, and they have their three leading receivers are Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, and Tank Odell or Tank Dell. And it's just like, who the fuck are any of these people on the Texans? And they're 3-3 and they're beating the Saints. And it's just like, I really like watching the Texans. And then my other fringe team, I would say, is the Falcons. Like they play
That's fair.
really good defense.
I didn't know
I
you were picking
really,
two, but whatever.
yeah, I mean, I'm just giving you more time.
No, I'm ready.
But
I know which team
they
it was.
they lost to the Commanders, but even then, I don't think Desmond Ritter is the guy, but he's very hot or cold. I feel like he loses them games, he wins them games. This one he lost because he threw three INTs, but Bijan Robinson, Algier, and then Kyle Pitts. There was a Kyle Pitts sighting this time, Casino. He caught four passes for 43 yards and a touchdown, but it was really Drake London, 9 receptions, 125 yards. And then again, in defense for this Falcons team, I believe they're top 7 in the league in total defense. So for a I'm sorry, they're even better. They're top 4 in the league in defense. So they have a top 5 defense. They have a top 2 rushing attack. And then what really hurts them is their quarterback is so hot or cold. So the Falcons, again, we talked about it. They get into the playoffs and they play the Cowboys. They are a team specifically built to beat a team like the Cowboys. Your fringe picks, Casino.
I really like the Rams. I like what the Rams. Oddly enough,
Oh, I do too.
I've liked what the Rams been doing. I know you were at that game.
They're fun to watch. Yeah.
Well, that's the category. No shit. God damn you. But no, I like them. They've been playing well. I mean, yes, they're what is their record? Is it 3-2 now? Blah blah blah. Now,
No, I think they're 4. No, they're 4-2, aren't they? Or are they 3-3? I'll look it
let's
up.
see.
Keep talking.
Yeah. No, they're 3-3. I forgot they've played 6 games. I'll be honest. No, but I like the Rams a lot. I like what they've been doing. Why won't it let me click the Rams? Why won't it let me click the Rams? I literally had them up.
And I mean, the 3 teams they've lost to are all like some of the best teams in the league.
Right.
They
That's
literally
what I was
lost.
talk about.
They lost to the 49ers.
No. This is my segment. I've got to pull
lost to the Eagles.
So they kicked the shit out of the Seahawks in the first week, which I thought the Seahawks were going to be much better than, which they're actually above them, and they're playing really well. So I like the Seahawks as well, but the Rams handled them in week 1. They were a touchdown away from beating the Niners. Really close game. They lost to the Bengals by 3, but that was the back. Bengals would have been 0-3, so they had to win that game. So they almost did. So, or maybe close to that. I don't remember. I don't fucking remember. Anyway, but I like the Rams. They're fun to watch. Stafford has been taking his team to Disneyland plenty, and he's finally connecting with the guys.
He's playing Fortnite with them. They're
He's
playing
playing
Minecraft
Fortnite. He's
together.
doing the
Yeah.
dances. He's doing all the things.
He's flossing.
Yeah, I mean, he's flossing, and then he's also flossing. I mean, come on, man. Have you seen him? He's anyway. Sorry, that was dumb. And I know we didn't really kind of talk about it, but the Seahawks, they're so much fun to watch. I really enjoy them. I know we kind of touched on them, but I really like watching them as well. I know they're in the same division. That's a fun division. We've talked about off the air, you and I, how this season has been a little wonky, but I think it's been wonky in the best way.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of the Panthers, let's see here: Panthers, Bears, Cardinals, Giants. So literally the one team in every NFC division, and then one team in only two teams in the AFC with the Patriots and the Broncos. Every other team, even the 2 and 3 teams, are fighting really well. So, I mean, you have 6 teams that are like meh, just like tossed to the curb. Besides that, every team looks fun. Every team's frisky. Every team has a good time when they're playing. I enjoyed this season. This has been kind of a fun season. Yes, there's been a lot of injuries, but it's been making it interesting. Yeah. I mean, everything's kind of up in the air. I'm really excited to see how things shake down coming towards playoff time. Those last like 2 weeks before the playoffs, I guarantee you the final Sunday before the playoffs is probably going to solidify. I'm going to honestly, I'll put it out there, maybe 9 different seating spots.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
like this is going to be a good good wild card weekend, good opening playoffs, because every team's gonna be really close to each other.
Well, and speaking of you mentioning the standings, I mean, all the teams that have one win all feel like they're out of it, right? So it's Cardinals, Bears, Broncos, Patriots, Giants, Panthers.
I mean, we'll even throw. I'll even throw the 1, 2, and 14, which is the Titans. I think they're trash and they're out of it. But
then
I mean, the other two, like Vikings, they can still win. I still don't dislike Kirk Cousins. He's just not that great. I mean, and then the Packers, they got a good defense. I don't want to throw them aside, but meh.
Yeah.
I mean, my Lions pick, by the way, in that division
it's looking good.
Looking
good.
But
yeah, so the all the 2-win teams. So I kind of agree with you on Titans, but who knows? We still both like Vrabel as a coach. But then you say Titans, Vikings, Chargers, Packers. I feel like any of those teams can beat any team on a Sunday, right? And you wouldn't be
any
shocked.
given Sunday.
Yeah, but then every other team above
they should make a movie about that.
Every other team above those has.
I think Al Pacino's looking for work.
He's too old for that part now. He's too old. But
if he gave me that speech, I would still get a hard on. So,
yeah, prove it on the podcast. But every other team in the league has either 3, 4, or 5 wins, and like you're saying, like everybody just kind of except 5 teams in a 32-man league. Everybody still feels like they're in it. Which I don't know if we could say that the last couple of years by like week 7, right? Yeah. Like everybody
so
still
let's just be generous to call it 7, and we'll pull like either the Packers or the Vikings in, and we'll say 8 teams. 8 teams.
Yeah.
Like are out of it. Besides that, every other team seems like they can make the playoffs, which is wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
But that has been our NFL. I think the top 6 stories of the week, Casino, just huge hit, led to great discussions between you and I. I don't think there was any big I don't think there was any big news we missed. Let me see. I'm looking at all the teams. I don't think there's any games we did not talk about that were newsworthy.
Worthwhile. No. Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about baseball, and then we'll get out of here, Casino. Have you been watching it?
Before we get into baseball, we got to talk about at least one college football game. Did you watch? Because I want to talk about a story. Did you watch the Washington-Oregon game? Because I did.
I did.
So I was my friends who came into town. Shout out to Victor. What's up, Palma? Um, I mean, someday I don't think you listen to this, but Victor, what's up? So he's a huge Washington fan, and we were at my brother's work at Stadium Swim, and we were just chilling there, watching it on the big screen, which was such a good game, like back and forth.
Yeah.
That I mean, that was a top contender game. That was like that the Oklahoma Texas game, the week prior. It was a really good game. Came down right to the last play, so that was awesome. And I bring that up is because that quarterback did I send it to you? I'm not sure if I did. Did you see the guy before the game, like on TV, like hyping it up, and he was like, the Washington guy, he's gonna bring that big Penix
Oh,
energy.
big penis energy. Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
Yeah.
but the quarterback. So if you guys don't know, for Washington is, I think you say his name like Penix or something like that. But he was like, he's gonna bring that big Penix energy, that big Penix
Dude, he was
energy,
like chanting it
dude.
on
That
that
was
was
absolutely
Desmond
phenomenal,
Howard.
and
Yeah.
I listened to it very closely multiple times. The second one, he did say penis. The second one, he did say penis, and then he corrected himself on the third one, and then he did get the N in there, and he said Penix. But he said penis on that second one, and that was just, dude, on live TV, like Stephen A. Smith, like was even like tweeting about it. It was like, holy shit! Like, if you haven't seen it, look it up. Just type in Washington, Oregon game and Penix energy,
Yeah.
and it is absolutely hysterical.
Well, and then also on that
Absolutely
Saturday,
hysterical.
we also had Notre Dame just blowing the doors off USC, which I
Yeah,
mean, I feel like everybody saw that coming because of that Arizona game the week prior where they
yeah.
barely survived against just
I also want to say though, I mean, not really yours, but my UNLV Run Rebels, they're 5-1. They have the same record as
damn.
Oregon. They have the
I
same record
mean,
as Oregon.
let's get them on the same field. Let's see how that turns out. But and then this weekend, I mean, three just
Hey, you know what
huge,
though?
huge
I will say this
games.
though. UNLV does have the sixth best rushing offense in the league in all of college football.
Damn, that's actually pretty impressive.
Thank you.
But
Look like
this
I'm
week,
on the team. Thank you.
this week we have number 7 Penn State at number 3 Ohio State, which is going to be a fucking
That
burner. And then we have number 17 Tennessee at number 11 Alabama.
I'm
Please, if
excited.
Alabama
God,
loses that game,
Tennessee.
uh,
I need it. I need it. I need it.
inject it into my veins. And
Oh
then
gosh.
the other two games I wanted to
And they
touch
almost
on.
and it's crazy. They almost lost. Alabama almost lost this
I
last week.
know, which I
Ugh,
think that well, remember Tennessee beat them with Hooker, wasn't it last year? Hendon Hooker, yeah,
that massive game, yeah.
that was a good game. And then we also have this week we have number 16 Duke at number 4 Florida State. I think Florida State blows them out, but
Blows them
then
out of the water. I think Duke will be exposed as a good team, but not
but
a
yeah,
caliber team.
not at that level.
No.
But then we have number 14 Utah at number 18 USC, and I also think Utah just blows them out. I think they just wipe the floor with them. So Utah's 5-1, USC 6-1, but again, that USC defense is just a cheese grater. You can just pick them apart and just there is holes all over that defense. I think Utah's offense is just going to carve them up. But let's move from college football over to MLB playoffs casino. How much of the MLB playoffs have you been watching? Because
Quite a bit.
I've been watching a shockingly lot of it.
Quite a bit. And just before we get into it, fun fact, in every single series so far, the team that has lost has either won 0 or only 1 game. Like they've been damn near sweeps the entire time.
Yeah.
Dude, like
Well,
it's like this playoffs is just cruising, like cruising. And
again, we
currently right
talked about
now,
that last time. Why they schedule these, why they try to make the playoffs end as quick as possible with like the scheduling of these games. I don't understand it, but yeah,
well, I
you're
mean,
right.
baseball's always been that way where they're
Yeah,
quick
I don't
turnover,
understand it. Why?
but I mean, it's been going even faster than normal because, like I said, outside of was it maybe two? I know 2 for sure, maybe 3 series. I think it's only two series.
Where the other teams
That they're
actually won a game?
Yeah, where
Yeah.
another team has actually won a game. Yeah, so there was the Braves, Phillies, and It was Houston, Braves, Phillies, and then Houston and Minnesota. Outside of that, everything has been a sweep.
Which we have to
Everything has been a
address this,
sweep.
Casino. On our last episode, I said, and you agreed, that the Phillies would lose to the Braves,
Oh,
and that one game they
dude, I
won,
really
we
thought
were like, that's an aberration. We don't, then that was the word I was looking for. That's an aberration.
game 3, dude. Woo.
I mean, I have never been more happy to just be dead wrong about anything, because
Yeah.
this Phillies team, dear Lord, the first game they win a close 5-3. The game last night, which I watched all of, 10-0. Never at any point during that game was I like, oh, the
So now
Diamondbacks
moving on.
are
Yeah.
winning
So
game.
what you're talking about now is we got 4 teams left. We have the Diamondbacks versus Phillies. We have the Rangers versus the Stros. I know we don't want either Texas team to be in there, but out of the two, I'm going to take the Rangers all day. Let's go Rangers. I don't want the Astros to be in there at all. I ultimately would love for it to be Texas, Arizona. But Phillies look absolutely dominant. Oh my gosh. I can't stand him. I'll say it on the broadcast. I can't stand Bryce Harper. I think he's a tool bag. I have a personal reason why. He's from Vegas. So
That's weird. Me
that's
too.
that's a
Yeah.
story for another time. So I'm just not a big fan of him, but he has absolutely been lighting it up. Dude, this Phillies team is dominating the Diamondbacks. Just dominate. I don't even think the Diamondbacks are a bad team. Like I said, they're really good, and they were hitting their stride. They were one of the best. They were the best team, like a good portion through the start of the season. Like they're a great team. I mean, they've reached the championship series for a reason, but Phillies are dominating them. I think this is Phillies World Series to lose. Like,
I
and
agree.
I want to just say, shout out to their fucking fans, dude. They're standing through the entire game of a fucking baseball game.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
Well,
Dear Lord. Like,
also,
Philly fans are like, I mean, we always talk about Philly fans being like wild and, just insane. I'm going to say they are insane, because you're standing the entire fucking game for a baseball game is absolutely insanity. Like, insanity.
well,
Congrats
and
for them. Good for them.
Well, and I talked about it earlier in this podcast, but not only are the Philly fans so great, especially at home, but the Diamondbacks have just given up, right? You can literally get, behind home plate tickets for this game are like some of the cheapest tickets you can get for literally a game 3 in to see which of these teams go to the World Series. You can get like, again, 5-6 rows back, 2 tickets for $36 a piece in Arizona.
If I was if I
I'm
was single and didn't have 2 kids, I'd join you.
I
I have to look behind me. I can just look here and make sure that nobody's coming in at the door here, but
Casino, give me a reason why I should not call off Friday and drive down to watch this game, because $36 to see this Phillies team beat the Diamondbacks.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm broke. So
that's true. That's a good reason. But yeah, I think
that's one.
My question to you, however, Casino, is we talked about how this was a weird MLB playoffs because Dodgers got swept. There was no Yankees. There was no Red Sox. There was no like big marquee teams. Do you think Phillies Rangers as a World Series
snooze fest?
Yeah. Do you think that has mainstream media appeal? You
No.
get what I'm saying? I don't think it does either.
It doesn't. It not at all. Zero. Zero. Normally I have a lot of baseball fans watching baseball at my place of work, but zero.
And both these series by this Saturday could be over. So the World Series would start with it it would start Friday, October 27th, and then it would go it would go Friday, Saturday, Monday, potentially ending on Halloween night. So not
Wild.
only are you going to have two teams that are not going to draw, outside eyes, unless you're obviously a fan of either baseball, the Phillies, or the Rangers, but then you're going to have potentially the World Series clinching game on Halloween night. Is baseball the stupidest sports industry of all the sports industry? I don't know what word to use.
I don't think it
Sports
is,
leagues.
but I wouldn't say it is, but I would just say they still cling on to the old, like they don't progress with
The
anything.
times.
Yeah.
It's just, why are you scheduling it like this? Again, everybody, there's more people who watch the MLB playoffs than regular MLB games. So why do you not schedule them differently than you do regular MLB games? It makes no fucking sense to me. Literally, multi-billion-dollar movie studios move movies that cost $500 million to different release dates so they don't compete against other movies and they can make all the money from their one movie. But yet you're a multi-billion-dollar sports company and you're just like, we're not changing for nothing. There's nothing you can do to make us change. And it's
We're
like,
still America's
why?
pastime.
Yeah, it's like they're by far, and it's distant.
You're right. You know what, though? They are
point.
America's pastime because that's what you watch to pass the time.
Yeah.
Boom.
And I mean, at this point,
Oh, come on. That was a good way to just end the show. Come on.
We could have ended it right there, but I still want to rant. But no, I'm also saying, how much have we ranted and raved
I'm also
about-
getting really hot outside. It's like 98 degrees back here in Vegas. So
it is still pretty hot. And you almost nailed it exactly. It's 89 degrees. Good job.
no, my computer says 92, but that might just because it's overheating sitting in the sun.
But yeah, my last little point about that was, and then we talk about how Major League Baseball is on Apple TV and it's on Hulu and it's on all these fucking random
You want to
things.
know what else
can't
is
find
on
a
Apple
game
TV that nobody cares about? MLS.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I still have my MLS team and whatnot, but I'm not going to pay Apple TV to watch it.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, why are none of these games on actual television? Like the NFL, college football, NBA are all on TV. Even NHL is prime time on ESPN. What?
Because
2, 3
NHL
nights
is legit
a week?
now.
Well, it's just like you're getting as many eyes as you can on these sports as possible. So I would even say at the moment, Major League Baseball is fourth behind NFL, NBA, and NHL, because at least NHL, you have marquee games on TNT
NHL.
and on ESPN.
Let's go.
Like, you can at least watch the fucking games.
This ESPN contract that the NHL got is huge.
Yeah,
massively huge for this sport.
But
it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm so happy as a hockey fan to get the eyes of the ESPN, primetime ESPN, when people were like, what's on ESPN? Oh, hockey? Okay, I'll watch it. Like that makes me happy because now we're gonna get more eyes and hopefully more fans of the game.
Yeah. Well, and then now MLB, when they're in the playoffs right now, on Friday, you have the Astros Rangers game at 2:07 p.m. Why? We have two baseball games. Why are you putting them both on the same fucking night? And then you have the Phillies Diamondbacks at 5:07. It's in Arizona. Why would you not put that game at 7, the other game at 4? What are we doing? It nothing annoys me more than MLB scheduling. But anything else, Casino, or can we get out of here?
I had a funny bit for the end of this show, but
do you want to save it for the next episode?
No, I think I just have heat exhaustion, so it's okay.
Well, this has been a very hot Will. That's been an even hotter Casino, and this has been the hottest podcast around, the only sports podcast.
I think I know where our thumbnail's going.
Oh, just hot. I'll try to find something. I'm Will, that's Casino, and we'll see Casino. You want to record tomorrow or Friday? I'm putting you on the spot. We'll play it by ear. The Thursday night game is shit this week, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, this has been the only sports podcast. I'm Will, that's Casino. Adios.